In this studio tutorial, we will review 3D labels and include the majority of their properties. We will highlight a few tips as well. Working with 3D labels in Widget Studio is another great widget to use and comes with many options to control the look and feel, as well as the behavior of the widget in your experiences. We'll go through the capabilities of the 3D label, including placing 3D labels, working with the label properties, including scaling, adjusting position, billboards, occluding, opacity, and end with adding some data to stream into the 3D label. Let's begin by starting off with a new project, and we'll add in one of our resources we've already added to the project, which is a bench grinder. Now let's add the 3D label to the canvas. We can pull this around or change to the translate or rotate icons and position as needed. Or we can select the mate option. Dragging the 3D label around will attach to the surfaces of the respective models. Moving over to the properties, let's start by setting the text for the 3D label. You'll also notice text properties here. We can change the font size, the font itself, the color of the font, or the outline of the font, which we'll do here. We can also change the scale of the 3D label, or you can change the location of the 3D label by entering values for XYZ coordinates or XYZ rotation. Moving down the list, you can see a visible option. Let's actually demonstrate how this would work by adding a toggle button on the 2D canvas. And then simply bind the toggle button back to the 3D label to make a connection for visible. Opening up the bottom panel, you can see that connection here. The next property we'll look at is billboarding. If we turn this on, you'll notice as we rotate the model, the 3D label will stay parallel to the screen no matter how we rotate it. Occluding is another tool we can use, part of the 3D label widget properties. We can turn this on and you'll see it will blank out what's behind it. Next, with always on top, as you rotate the model, you will notice that the 3D label will be visible no matter how you rotate, as it is always on top. And with opacity, we can change this from opaque to transparent, from 0 to 1. With pivot, we can set the rotation point of the 3D label from top left to center to right, and so on. Finally, let's conclude this section by previewing our bench grinder with the 3D label on it. You'll notice we have the 2D toggle button there, and as we enable it, the 3D label will display. In this last example, let's add some live data to this bench grinder. We'll start by adding external data and selecting a fan for this example. Here you'll see in the properties we can add RPMs. As you can see, this property has auto refresh set, so we will see the RPMs update constantly on this 3D label. Also notice the radio button next to the text of the 3D label properties, signifying that there is a connection. And now that we have bound the RPMs to the 3D label, when we preview, we'll see the value for RPMs displayed. And finally, if we want to show the RPM text as well as the value, we can do that by using Add Filter. Here, I'll add a little custom logic, which will return the text RPM and also the value. Let's preview one last time and see what we get. Here you can see the RPM text as well as the streaming RPM data coming in to our experience. This concludes the demonstration.